Hey everybody, my name is Jack Shannon. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Recess, and we're the easiest way to sponsor events. So there's millions of events that occur each year. Just technically this is an event, even though we're not all together right now, but millions of events that are out there. And unfortunately, most of the event organizers lack the ability to connect with brand sponsors. So you can imagine tons of events out there don't have the relationships, they don't have the expertise, and folks at companies like Red Bull and Kind Bar, they face a daily problem that they're inundated with sponsorship decks, packages. I'm sure everyone's seen a like gold, silver, bronze at some point in their life if you've been involved with charities. It's really frustrating on the brand side to be able to have to pick through and look at all those different things and compare them. And more often than not, people just give up or they don't look at it at all. So we saw a very inefficient market that could be simplified and streamlined using an online marketplace. And so that's what we've created with Recess, with the goal of connecting brands and event organizers to streamline targeted sponsorship opportunities. So we allow brands to easily choose multiple events to sponsor across different event organizers and allow them to deploy a single marketing campaign to reach their target audience. So if you think about the digital ad space before programmatic, that this is kind of what exists in events right now. Everything's totally fragmented, super custom, and not very efficient. So we've been lucky enough to work with some great customers already, and one of them, Utz Boulder Canyon. Here's an example of how we saved them with just 3 events that used to take them 75 hours total to accomplish all of the parts that go into it. We brought that down to 9 hours total. So we saved them 88% of the time savings that they typically spent. Our revenue model, we're a marketplace, so we take between 30 to 40% of the sponsorship fees or GMV. That might sound really high to some, but there are millions of events out there, and frankly, they're pumped to be getting 70 cents on the dollar because otherwise it's all found revenue that they wouldn't have otherwise had. So they're happy to pay a large take rate. Additionally, if once the space or the sponsorship's purchased, we can also offer additional activation services through a variety of different partners that can fulfill that. So we take also around 30% as like a lead generation fee into those. With any marketplace, solving the chicken or the egg problem is tough starting out. We started with a market that we had some previous experience in, which was collegiate events, so everything outside of sports. So think like the music festivals, welcome back to school events. And we've been really fortunate to onboard over 220 colleges that are currently using the tool that have signed up. They've listed inventory with us, listed different assets that are on that side of it. And that's allowed us to acquire some amazing initial brand partners. We're working with some of the biggest companies in the world like Apple, Square, Google, Nestle, Red Bull, Kind Bar. And the majority of them are using the tool. They're looking at events, which I think has traditionally been seen as a very expensive, very hard to track, not very ROI focused channel, to one that is more of a performance, more of an acquisition channel that can compete with Google, Facebook, and now television out of home, and all the new mediums that brands are searching for to acquire new customers. So that's why Apple and Square are working with us to acquire new customers. Those brands have allowed us to drastically increase our supply as well using that other side. We're currently 7% of Live Nation's audience size, and we expect over the next 18 to 24 months to surpass Live Nation in terms of audience size. They're currently at 87 million. For some context, high school football, varsity high school football in the U.S. is 500 million attendees, so it's 5 times as big as the biggest live entertainment company in the world. So the long tail is so much greater than any one of these major partners. And the best news is big brands keep coming back and buying more. Apple's first transaction was 30 grand. They've come back and spent 150 with us. Similarly, Square started at a $50,000 test, and they just re-upped for a $420,000 purchase with us. Net promoter scores are off the charts. Our buyer net promoter score is 62%. Our event organizer net promoter score is 80%. And we're using all of this momentum now to build tools that can help us organically acquire customers. Not only that, our brands are wanting to use our tool to buy all of their events, not just college, which is opening up a much bigger market opportunity. And that's what we're diving into next, is building that out. we've got a great team. Can go into more detail there afterwards if anyone's interested, and a bunch of great investors already on board. So we're looking for to fill out the rest of our round. We're raising a $3.5 million seed round. We've got $500K left, and so would love to chat with anybody that might be interested in learning more. Thanks so much.
Lucas, you're on mute.
I am on mute. Brian, I appreciate you. So Jack, thank you again for presenting. This would be the time for any of the investors. If they have any specific questions, feel free to turn on your camera, feel free to unmute yourself and ask.
I'll go for a question. So we're doing questions after each pitch?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. I wanted to ask you, Jack, about, I want to hear more about your team. So can you just tell us about the breakdown of your team in terms of, talent, what you're all focused on, and just like total size right now?
Yeah. So we're, let me see if I can go back. I'll just talk through it. So we're 9 team members full-time right now. We have 4 engineers working on the product full-time. Myself and my co-founder kind of look after different sides of the marketplace. So I focus on our buyers. He focuses on the supply side. And I have one kind of growth and acquisition person under me. And then he has 2 folks under him. One that's focused on new supplier acquisition, and another person that's focused on basically like retaining and getting existing customers and suppliers to upload more inventory.
Excellent. Thanks so much for that.
Yep. We're also at a team offsite, so that's why there's like some random stuff behind me, and I'm sitting in a rocking chair, in case anyone was wondering.
Nice.
Jack, this is Vishal. What's the market cap on current ask?
Sorry, I didn't catch that. But was that a market size question?
No, what is you are asking for 500K, right? In your current round, what's the market capital for that? It's a seed round, right?
Yeah, it's a seed round. So we've raised 2.35 of that already on a safe note, which will convert with this round,
Okay.
and then we're raising an additional like 1.1, 1.2, of which we have the 650 of that already committed. So it's collectively it's a 10.5 pre and a 14 post.
Okay, thank you.
I'm happy to obviously share financials and other stuff if anyone's interested.
Thank you, Jack.
Yep.
Hey, Jack, this is Matt. I have a quick question
Sure.
related to great product, by the way.
Thanks.
Do the sponsors, are they buying per event, or are they looking, is your vision to create like almost like programmatic, because you drew the comparison, data driven buy, like I want to buy all 18 to 24-year-olds across in the country at this time, all events, or is it per event?
Yeah, no, it's not per event, because that doesn't solve any of the efficiency standpoint. So that's the key. What we had was standardizing the inventory. So we don't there's no packages, there's no sponsorships. We define what that inventory is, and a supplier can turn that on and then price that and list it. So it makes it easy for somebody who says, like Red Bull, I just want to buy this, 10 foot by 10 foot space within the event so I can go out and hand out Red Bulls. They can click 100 events and buy 100 all at once without having to, interface with a variety of different people. And we obscure a lot of that data in terms of event description. They really just know like, where is it, how many people, what type of event it is. And as we move into new markets, we will allow for an audience targeting. So I want to reach moms who are interested in yoga between 25 and 35 that shop at Walmart, and be able to basically, present those where it shouldn't matter what the event is. Frankly, all that matters is who's the audience that you're buying access to.
Got it. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Herschel Mehta here. Curious on competition.
Yep.
And on international expansion plans.
Yeah, there's, we're certainly not the first people to come up with a sponsorship marketplace. That's for sure. There's been many before. There's a few more out there right now. SponseEasy, Sponsor My Event. I'd say our truly main competition right now is the the Live Nations of the world, the IMG, Learfields of the world, who are selling, really premium inventory. We're offering a, similar audience at 1/10 to 1/20th of the price. So we really look at our comparables as some of those bigger companies that we're looking to move in and disrupt. Most sponsorship marketplaces out there right now, they're listings-based marketplaces. So they might charge a SaaS fee for a premium listing or something like that. We're the only folks I've seen to date who are getting in the middle of the transaction and actually streamlining that workflow all the way through delivery. So, and that's really where you see the vast time and efficiency savings. A listings marketplace where you can find events, but you still have to reach out and email and talk and all of that. It just doesn't really provide a lot of the value and the efficiency that I think our tool is delivering.
Hey Jack, how are you? Brian Horner here.
Oh, hey, Brian.
So I have a question about kind of the next round. When you finish this raise, what is your sort of immediate strategy insofar as growing out the sponsorships or the events? Because it's kind of where is finding the bottleneck? Is it getting more sponsors in, or is it finding more events that you could sell the sponsors? So what do you want to hit for your A round?
Sure. Yeah, definitely. We've had some early conversations already with a few possible investors for that. They really want to see us move outside of the collegiate space in a meaningful way. And that is, we've tested that a little bit. We've done some work with Miller Coors and, kind of proven that out. But the money we're raising is to just hire engineers. It's all hiring engineers. We've got a product roadmap we want to get through by the end of the year where, it's just going to allow us to really, scale the business in a meaningful way. We didn't want to move into other event verticals yet before we had that in place. So from a plan standpoint, it's really get the money in, build up the team and go heads down. 2020 is when we're going to look to expand into these new markets. And our goal is we're at about 40 buyers right now. We want to be at 75 by the end of the year. And then flip back to supply where, college might be only 5% of their spend. So we could acquire no more new buyers, but 20x our volume by just expanding into the key markets that our buyers want us to go into. And those initial ones we've identified are the wellness space. So every yoga event, every meditation event, it's just so many of our customers want to reach that audience, that demo. And then, state fairs, independent music festivals, a lot of other possible areas we could go into as well.
Awesome. Jack, thank you so much for presenting. Really appreciate it. Good luck with the retreat with your team.
Awesome.
Cool. Thanks again.
Thanks a lot, everybody.
Thanks, Jack.
Daryl, are you on? I think I just added you as a panelist. See if I can grab you. Yep, perfect. Hey, Daryl. Awesome. So relay, and whenever you're ready, feel free to take it away.
Alrighty. Hey guys, thanks for having me today. I want to start off with first just giving a little bit about myself. So my name is Darrell. I'm the son of a truck driver. I'm also a multi-patented engineer. So on one hand, you could say trucking is in my blood, but my passion is really innovation and technology. And so I put these experiences together to bring freedom to truck drivers and help small trucking companies grow with Relay. Introducing the rest of our team, our leadership team, we have our CTO, TJ, who has decades of experience in developing technology and successfully built tech companies before. Our business development VP, Stephanie, is a seasoned sales executive with experience building and taking companies global. Now, the best part about our leadership team is we are all proven successful entrepreneurs with a diverse set of expertise to build and make Relay successful. What is Relay? Relay is a technology platform that solves flexibility issues for drivers while increasing profitability and eliminating the key driver shortage problems that plague the US and globally. In fact, 72% of carriers report that they cannot find enough drivers, and as a result, lost revenue. In 2018, the truck driver turnover rate was over 100%. Now make no mistake about it, truck drivers love what they do. but they are fed up with the lifestyle trucking imposes. The weeks away from home, 16-hour work days, 6 days a week. And as I knew all too well growing up, to miss birthdays and special events. But have no fear, Relay is here. Relay is the new and better way for truck drivers to work while automating 95% of daily driver staffing and dispatching operations for carriers with just a few clicks. Relay essentially connects truck drivers who don't own their own trucks with carriers who need a driver with just a tap of a button. Now, for drivers, Relay is freedom. They can work when and how often they want. From the palm of their hand, they can work on demand or schedule themselves out to 7 days in advance. We're building powerful AI to automate the matching with carriers for specific Relay move requirements. We also built into the app and software DOT compliance and hours of service regulation tracking, as drivers are regulated to how many hours they can drive. This is a huge benefit and creates tremendous efficiencies on our platform. For carriers, it's all about flexibility. They can get a driver anytime, anywhere, and whenever they need. A carrier can get a driver in minutes with our simple, intuitive 3-click interface. At the core of what we're building is our AI-powered estimates that we're striving to get within 10 minutes accuracy using data that we're collecting around how long it takes shippers to load and unload our trucks and trailers, traffic, as well as driver tendencies, and more. We also built in full dispatching of the drivers with real-time notifications to keep carriers updated throughout every Relay move. And at the core of the brand is the quality of the driver that's on our network. We created a 5-star certification program to ensure the user experience is always awesome. Now, Relay is the next big thing is trucking. I know this because we just recently launched and are already seeing great traction. 100% of our customers are staying on the network so far and continue to grow their use. In fact, some carriers have let us know that they love and see the value so much that Relay brings that they are no longer going to hire their own drivers, but will use Relay for all their drivers going forward. For drivers, we've already received over 600 applications just in a 35-mile radius from our Relay hub here in Corona for drivers to join our network. Of the drivers on our network, 90% of them are staying. Compare that to the industry average of 100% turnover in this industry. And our reviews have been nothing short of amazing. And so with Relay, we have a huge opportunity before us. In the US, we are addressing a serviceable market of about $57 billion, with truck driver being the #1 job in 29 states. Within that market, we have over 1 million carriers and 3.5 million drivers. Globally, our market is over 6.5 million truck drivers. So in summary, we created Relay based on solid trucking experience and a passion to solve real problems that have a major impact. Our bold goal is to build Relay to a $500 million company over the next 5 years. So will you help us secure an investment to bring freedom to millions of truck drivers across the country and revolutionize trucking? Thank you.
Perfect. You guys are learning. Appreciate it.
Great pitch, Daryl. Quick question on the carrier on the trucker side. Do you use particular focus on, like LTL or FTL, or is it local deliveries? Is there a segment that you're targeting currently in your stage?
Yeah, so in our early stage, we're targeting local. 84% of freight that moves in the country is local freight. And so that's where we're starting, to really build that local network of drivers and carriers. We'll eventually, as we expand market to market, link local markets together for long hauls through our software and platform.
Hey, can you talk about the business model a little bit more and how you define revenue? Is that the amount of revenue that's going through your platform or the revenue that you're actually getting as a company?
Yeah, so we're talking about our top line revenue, and that's the revenue that's going through our platform. And so our business model is really simple. We charge the carriers an hourly rate based on how long they use the relay driver on our network. From there, we pay the relay driver cost, and we keep a percentage of that hourly rate.
And what is that percentage?
It fluctuates based on our AI pricing to kind of make sure we're getting that matching, but anywhere from 10 to 20%.
Okay.
And our average ticket size is roughly around $250 for a 7-hour relay.
Hey, Daryl, can you talk a bit about your competition? I know there's a lot of well-funded trucking companies, matching companies out there. Convoy comes to mind, Next Trucking. Can you just talk a bit about competition, how you're kind of going to differentiate, or do you find yourself just kind of an added player in the market where customers may have multiple platforms they use? Yeah.
So the folks you mentioned, Convoy, Uber Freight, Next Trucking, they're in the space of connecting shippers with carriers to get loads. They're essentially a digital freight brokerage. We're in a different space of the supply chain for transportation. We're connecting drivers with carriers to move those trucks. And so our traditional competition today, it would be the incumbents, like a traditional staffing company, tip to hire staffing company or recruiting company to get a driver for you. They've been super slow to adopt technology, and they're very fragmented. For a carrier to get a driver today, they're doing that through phone or email still, working with that staffing company or recruiter. And then that staffing company requires 3 to 4 people to touch that transaction before they could actually put a driver in the seat of the truck. Whereas our platform and software automates that entire process completely hands-off as far as matching that carrier with the driver. And so our competition, folks who are trying to enter into what we're doing today from a technology standpoint, or like Slipseat and a couple other folks that they're really building job marketplaces versus true on-demand technology using the automation that we are. And so we're definitely ahead of anybody in this particular space connecting drivers with carriers.
Awesome. Daryl, thank you so much for the presentation. To all the investors, I've gotten like 5 text messages about it. I will be sharing all of their contact information with you after, so that you can do follow-up conversations as well.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for your time. Very appreciative of it. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Appreciate you presenting. Maurice, you are up next. LedgerSync. Company I literally finished due diligence on 2 weeks ago. Maurice, are you there? There we go. Perfect. Cool. Maurice, whenever you're ready, feel free to take it away.
Shoot this thing here. Just give me a second here. Okay. Thank you so much for hearing our pitch with LedgerSync. So I want to get you excited about LedgerSync, about accounting. This picture depicts, this picture over here might not actually be what's actually happening in an office, but in reality, all this paperwork is inside their head. They're actually dealing with this amount of paperwork with various clients, et cetera, on a daily basis. So accounting today is a really outdated process. It's very paper intensive in the sense that every accountant today, when they do their bookkeeping or they do their annual taxes, they've got to get copies of statements, got to get paper checks. There's a lot of paperwork involved. In addition, with accounting today and doing the accounting for businesses, the clients have many bank accounts. The average client has between 6 to 8 different bank and credit card accounts. All this needs to be managed by the accountant in order to do their bookkeeping. And it's an all or nothing deal because you can't close the books at all if you can't close the books at all if you have partial accounts. You got to have all the bank accounts, all the credit card accounts in order to do the bookkeeping. In addition, bookkeeping is expensive. It's getting more and more expensive. Bookkeepers are the average bookkeeper is about between $50 to $60 per hour, and it's really expensive to maintain. So, often I'm asked, well, doesn't QuickBooks do all this stuff? Doesn't QuickBooks go and fetch your data? Doesn't it get all your paper statements, et cetera? The answer is no. QuickBooks is basically a calculator. It's a giant calculator. It is not a data provider. QuickBooks is useless without the data. Someone has to feed the data into QuickBooks in order to calculate the numbers. Hence, LedgerSync. LedgerSync is a system that fetches the financial data, all the client's financial data. It allows accountants and bookkeepers to edit the financial and edit the data and stick it into QuickBooks. So essentially, everyone loves LedgerSync. Why? Clients, on one hand, they're able to connect all their bank accounts, all their credit accounts into one system. Accountants or bookkeepers don't have to nag them, say, hey, give me copies of your checks, give me copies of your statement, and deposit images, et cetera. LedgerSync is a data fetcher that fetches all the information and they get their financials. But more importantly, accountants love it because imagine an accountant has, say, 200-300 clients. There's a one-stop shop. All with LedgerSync, all their clients' financial data is aggregated into one place. Hence, they can have bookkeepers, et cetera, connect to one system that's LedgerSync, manage all the data. We can drive down costs because they don't have to hire the accounts don't have to hire bookkeepers or administrators to chase the clients for the information, which must be done. In addition, banks, I don't know if you know, but banks hold information for a limited amount of time. So for example, copies of checks, for example, for Chase, it is held for indefinitely, but B of A, I believe it's 18 months, and for TD, it's only 3 months. So LedgerSync is a system that fetches, holds the statements, holds the check image, holds all data in one place. Okay. The great thing about LedgerSync is that LedgerSync is growing organically. It's growing by itself, and I'll explain to you why. We're really handing it out of the park. Currently, we have about 500 customers, 500 firms that use LedgerSync, accounting firms. Our CAC is about $177. The LTV on it is $2.5K. Our churn is only 3%, and our current MRR is $60K. We recently relaunched a version 2.0 of LedgerSync, and within 7 days, we achieved $7K and an additional MRR. This is a product that is a must-have for accountants because they simply need to get all their clients' financial data. Without it, they can't do their bookkeeping or accounting work. And our revenue model is really simple. Accountants love this. It's really simple. We charge $12.49 per client per month. Usually, it's a pass-through to the client. It's simple. The client doesn't even notice the $12.49. That's really easy. The great thing about LedgerSync is that since we connect all this financial data, aggregate it, hold it for the accountants, they could do their bookkeeping within LedgerSync, push that into QuickBooks, et cetera, is that when we demo the product, there's an 80% conversion rate. Okay, so that's fantastic. And the average CPA firm that we close, on average, has about 150 clients. So it's a multiplying factor. Okay, in terms of scaling, we've got huge potential. So we are already in talks with KPMG, thanks to Lucas. We are talking to Intuit, who is promoting our product. Again, we're not competitive to Intuit. We work in conjunction with Intuit because Intuit is remember, the QuickBooks product is a calculator. It's not a data provider. In addition, for example, partnerships with Right Networks. They're a hosting provider for QuickBooks. So they need a product that can sync all the financial data into QuickBooks Desktop. In addition, there's many organizations that we can work with, like for example, Latino Tax Pro. Rootworks is a great organization. They've got about 500 to 600 accounting firms that subscribe to the new Rootworks technology methodology. Basically, you subscribe to Rootworks and they tell you which technology to use. And yeah, we're on that list. So there's plenty of potential ways to grow in addition to standard marketing, social media, et cetera. The public accounting space is huge. It's about selling 10% year over year. It's relatively an untapped market. It's just not sexy, so to speak. And in terms of our competitors, like I don't even think of our competitors just because it's so huge, but our main competitor is a company called HubDoc, and they were acquired recently by Xero last year. So we've got plenty of room to grow. Fortunately, thank God we got some Fortune 500 experience. I'm the CEO. I've worked with Bench. I've worked with many other accounting firms and technology companies. Our CTO is Andre Prairie. He worked at Ito. He worked at Flextronics. I also worked at Flextronics, Glass Lewis, Barclays. Ludi Levy worked at Bank Leumi, et cetera. So we've got a pretty strong team of sales folks and developers. We're seeking $1 million with the majority of the capital going towards sales and development. Going towards sales business, 30% going towards software development. Our current investors is Quake. We work with GAN, Mucker Capital, and Amplify. So and we're looking for $1 million, et cetera. So if I leave you with just a couple of thoughts, that LedgerSync basically sells itself. We don't have to, the sales cycle to close a client is basically demo the product, give them a 14-day trial, and they sign up. It's not complicated. The software isn't built to be complicated. They understand the need because they have that need. We close sales, we close accounting firms every single day. Within 7 days, we achieved 7K in MRR, and we are solving a real problem. Happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Awesome. We'll give one question because you're a little over on time, Maurice.
Sorry.
Herschel, I see you up there. Why don't you ask?
Hey, Maurice. I come from the public accounting world. You touched on those large numbers there. I'm curious, though, is LedgerSync specifically for, is the use case specifically for HNI and ultra high net individuals that are doing bookkeeping, or is there a business aspect? And if so, are we looking at kind of sole proprietors, or are you looking at partnerships?
The gamut of LedgerSync is literally the mom and pop firm that has, let's say, 2-3 employees, all the way to a company the size of KPMG. Because the need is basic. Essentially, they need to connect to their clients' bank accounts, fetch the information. So whether you're with a small firm or a big firm, the need is across the board. And that's what we see in our customer base.
Cool. Awesome. Maurice, thank you so much. Truly appreciate it. I'm a backer now. Maurice entered the competition about a month ago and was fortunate to get some due diligence with them before. So definitely a product I love. Kim, are you available? Are you ready?
I am. I'm right here. I will share my screen.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I will remind the founders on the call, 5-minute pitches, please, going forward. So let's make sure to keep that time crunched because the investors do have a bunch of things to do today. Thanks, guys.
Great. Hi, everyone. I'm Kim, and my company's Trials AI. Our system intelligently guides research teams through the process of developing their clinical trial protocols. The goal here is speed and success. A major problem for life science companies is that 43% of their clinical trials are failing because of poorly designed protocols. That means billions of dollars are getting squandered every year in preventable mistakes. This is my best friend, Paul. He was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and given 5 months to live. Unfortunately, Paul died waiting while the only 2 treatments that could have saved him were getting quote unquote protocol ready. The current process is manual, it's faulty, and it's time consuming. So life sciences companies are losing money, but patients just don't have time to wait. Our smart protocol solution helps research teams by identifying costly protocol amendments, improving recruitment and retention, and optimizing testing and treatments for speed and cost. For example, if you're running a phase 1 trial, you'd need to know when to collect blood samples so that you can accurately describe your drug activity. Now, not collecting enough samples can lead to a failed trial, but collecting too many wastes time and money. So for a little context here, blood draws cost up to about $300 each. We ran an analysis on this completed trial. They had collected blood from each patient 15 different times. Trials AI analyzed data across similar trials and found that 10 was actually the optimal number for blood draws in this particular case. So Had they used Trials AI, it would have recommended 5 less samples per patient, which would have saved them about $110,000 in lab tests alone. Now, if that reduction had led to 10 less patients dropping out of the trial and 1 less protocol amendment, they could have saved 2 months and $500,000. That's just from optimizing their blood samples. So you might be thinking, great, Kim, but how does it actually work? Our system processes massive amounts of publicly available data. Then it combines that with our customers' internal data to provide recommendations on how best to design each protocol. This is a large global opportunity. Researchers are spending on the order of $65 billion every year on clinical trials. And our addressable market for protocol design is about $3.7 billion. Biggest competitors out there are consultants providing services. We are not a service provider. Our technology goes directly into the hands of research teams, enabling them to make data-driven decisions. We are selling to pharma, biotech, and device companies. So subscriptions for the Pfizers and Novartis of the world are by therapeutic area, while smaller companies can subscribe on a per trial basis. Now I've got a fantastic team, all with startup experience. You can probably hear the smile on my face as I look at them. I spent over 12 years consulting big pharma companies on process improvement. So I know the bottlenecks that need to be fixed in clinical trials. Our chief scientist, Dr. Fogel, is an award-winning scientist, AI pioneer. He's built AI solutions for the FDA as well as big pharma. Our CTO, Tom, started his career as a researcher over at Scripps Research Institute. He found his passion in technology about 15 years ago and took his last company through exit. And finally, our head of product, Josh, started his career over at Pathway Genomics, where he met Tom and followed him over to Trials AI. One of our core values is getting things done. So over the past year, we sold our initial trial execution product to smaller players, then went to sell to my friends at Big Pharma and learned that the biggest opportunity is in protocol design. So we hit the reset button to focus on this opportunity back in November. We have also done some really exciting work developing our product. We've got a patent pending on our patient burden index. We built out our data processing pipeline. We also built our proprietary clinical trials ontology. And of course, we're continuing to build out our recommendation algorithms. All of this work has resulted in a strong sales pipeline. We're in contract negotiations with 3 of the top 10 big pharma companies, super excited about that. And we're also working to lock in a deal with an industry consultant, and we are generating revenue. So I'd like to invite you to join us on our incredible mission to get treatments to patients faster. We are 60% subscribed on a $750,000 convertible note. We do expect to close the remaining $300K within the coming weeks. We also are actively talking to investors, so if you're interested, don't hesitate to reach out today. Thanks so much.
Kim, thank you. Perfectly on time. Really appreciate that. To the panelists, who has a question?
Hey, Kim, this is Matt. I just had a quick question. Are there any regulatory issues that would provide any headwinds to what you're doing as you grow?
So we initially, when I started the company, I reached out to the FDA and talked to them about the direction we were going. And they said, as long as we are a tool that supplements the work that the researchers are doing, we don't have any regulatory hurdles that we have to pass through.
Thank you.
Sure.
Kim, can you move to the previous slide where you had all the numbers highlighted, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
That was a quick response to that one.
That was nice and easy. Does anyone else have any additional questions? Perfect. Kim, thank you so much. Truly appreciate it. As always, look forward to getting that final round closed out. But
thanks so much. Take care.
Manu, are you there? House stay. Oh, Manu isn't. Oh, Manu, raise your hand. Oh, good. You are a attendee still. There you go. All right, that was my bad. I got you. All right, hey, there we go. Knocking it out. Manu, feel free to share the screen whenever you have a chance. And yeah, I'll let you take it from here. Work.
Let me pick it up. Here we go. Boom. Let me know if you guys can see the screen.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Hi, guys. I'm Manu Bagachi, the founder and CEO of HouseStay, a marketplace to rent furnished properties on a monthly basis. So I'd like to start by sharing a story about a software engineer named Cody, an unemployed 22-year-old with Silicon Beach dreams. Now, Cody finds a gorgeous apartment in Marina Del Rey on a short-term rental platform. He maxes out his credit card for a 2-month stay, hoping to secure a 6-figure job. However, he remains unemployed and turns into a squatter. The property owner loses thousands in rent and incurs significant legal fees evicting Cody. Unfortunately, that is current market solutions allow for this fictitious scenario to be a real nightmare for property owners. Why? Because there isn't a unified marketplace to find and book medium-term stays. Often a person will spend days checking multiple platforms and encounter manual processes to complete a transaction. Throw in unverified properties, and there seems to be a lot of frustration and time wasted when searching for furnished homes. Additionally, the short-term platforms out there do not support processes to screen tenants or just sign a lease online, a process that protects the interests of landlords and tenants alike. Many traditional corporate or service departments offer an inventory of furnished homes, but have not yet entered the digital age and continue to process these transactions offline. Enter HouseStay, a trusted global marketplace where you can find and lease a property in a few clicks without having to worry about being scammed. Our platform would have prevented Cody from becoming a tenant, let alone become a squatter. Now hosts simply accept a booking request and HouseStay takes care of the rest. We basically solved the Cody problem by integrating tools in our booking process. Now a host basically can take comfort in knowing that their tenants aren't criminals, haven't undergone eviction, and are screened through a self-guided process prior to completing a transaction. Also, what once took days to complete, we get it done under an hour. Our revenue model is very simple. We make money by charging a 10% fee off of each month's rent. At the time of the booking, we charge an additional 6.5% service fee on the sum total of the first month's booking charge. Well, we've got the market. Our core platform is now live and was engineered based on feedback from tenants and hosts. We're currently scaling our inventory by connecting to premium supply partners across multiple cities while marketing to B2C guys. Once we're in at least 5 cities, we can activate demand from B2B channels. Examples of such as relocation professionals, housing for contractors, interns, medical professionals, and insurance, to name a few. Now, the platform has been in beta since March, and we expect to fully launch by Q4 with a presence in 7 cities and over 2,000 premium listings. Our goal for 2019 is to end the year at a $500,000 run rate and expand that to a $3.5 million run rate by the end of next year. Our supply commitments provide an annual revenue potential of $15 million. However, we're also in discussions with larger partners that could translate to $1 billion revenue opportunity. On the demand side, we currently have visibility into about $100 million of revenue. We have a relationship with Douglas Elliman that could generate over $600K of revenue for the platform annually. We're also in conversations with partners which do over 100,000 relocations annually, which represents $100 million annual revenue opportunity. As everyone else, we do have a few competitors in the space, but 2 of them are abroad based out of Europe, and 1 is based out of San Francisco. And as you can see in the slide, when benchmarked against them, we have the most robust platform designed to accommodate requirements for both business and individual travelers. Well, in terms of the addressable market, the first B2B vertical we think we can win is comprised of a 1.5 million annual relocations, which create the $35 billion global relocation market. Based on our revenue model, HouseStay could generate over $3.5 billion of revenue. And guess what? All of this has been accomplished by a 3-person team in Culver City. My background is in financial consulting, IT management, and hospitality. My co-founder, Jared, has a background in sales, and our CTO, Ryan, is a full stack developer with over 10 years experience doing very complex programming. Currently, we're kicking off our seed round. It's a $2 million round to scale our sales team, enhance the platform, and scale the team over the next 18 months. So please feel free to reach out if you're interested in learning more about the platform, as we're happy to schedule a demo and discuss our round in further detail. Thank you so much for your time. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Panelists, anyone have any questions?
Hey, this is Drew here from Hawke. Could you go back to your kind of marketing and industry slide? I think one of the things that I'm trying to wrap my head around is the TAM here in terms of, you know, in terms of how many kind of folks are really in the in the space for this. So there's obviously some competitors and some other options that they have available to them. Can you just kind of talk through your TAM and really how you think about the target addressable market?
Sure. So we're going after a subset of the $555 billion accommodation market, which includes hotels, extended stays, corporate housing, serviced apartments, and pretty much everything. And when I say our primary goal is to go after the global relocation market, is because they're the least sophisticated crew in this whole 35, and basically because they're operating on a manual basis. There really isn't a system that I can think of, or on a global basis, which handles relocation, which is group moves and such. There really isn't a system that aggregates the kind of inventory that we're talking about and offers it on a monthly basis. So that's one piece of the B2B piece. Now the B2C piece is about, in the US, I can tell you that it's about an $18 billion market that we're going after. And that's the best estimate we've gotten as of right now. But our goal is to cast a wide net, and we've developed processes. Even when you go to House Day and click on sign up, you could actually sign up as an individual or business, because we want to go after both of those. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Is there like a hack you can figure out, or a channel sales kind of strategy that you could figure out to really boost up that kind of top of funnel and that kind of, you know, that first sales boost? You know, I mean, I have to imagine somebody like Deloitte or somebody like McKinsey or some like massive company that just does this all the time. There's got to be some way you could kind of belly up and grab those guys relatively quickly.
So that's a great question. So what we've done is we've recruited a gentleman with 37 years. So let me backtrack a little bit. Relocation is a very incestuous and small industry when it comes to folks who look for housing. And housing is a subset of the global move services industry. So we have a gentleman on our advisory board, and will come on full time once we raise the current round, who has 37 years of relocation. So he pretty much knows every company in the space. I bring up the slide to point out BGRS and CS Cardis. So we have already gone to a convention, talked to these guys, introduced the product to them, the concept, and we already have buy-in from these guys, because truly there is nothing out there that handles something like this. That's also why Douglas Element, that places almost like 400 families a year in New York City, has, we have a soft commitment, happy to share the emails from their head of relocation. They're going to start using the platform. To your point, as of right now, I am the sales guy who's also reaching out to every Big Four and every corporation out there, introducing House Day to them. Because our biggest challenge right now is no one knows about us. But you're absolutely correct. We're going after the Deloittes, we're going after the McKinseys, we're going after, being in LA, we're going after Warner Brothers, who have a lot of contractual workers coming from all over the planet, and we've had transactions like that. So yes, there's a structured approach to reach these guys, and currently we're taking the approach, because we don't have the budget. So currently we've taken a very creative approach where we're identifying housing coordinators for each of these categories, if you may. We're going after like the education vertical, the sports vertical, by finding folks on LinkedIn, introducing ourselves, and then sending them our pitch and information about our platform.
Can you, I understand the value add certainly for the landlord in allowing, you know, background checks for short-term rentals. But as far as the value add for the renter, you know, going to the McKinseys or Deloitte's or any large customer that's placing their employees or relocating, they're really interested in quality assurance and making sure that the unit that they're putting their person into is going to be clean and is like a legitimate unit. So that's why they go to these fragmented small players that own a few units, because they know that there's quality assurance. How are you going to assure that this platform is, you know, every house on this platform is, you know, of high quality for like a corporate end user?
It's a great question, Jake. We're actually already doing that. So we're almost, if you look at the platform, our go-to-market strategy was to onboard listings that have already established the quality standards by working with property managers who take a lot of pains to establish that quality standard. So let me go back to one step. If you look at the integrated supply piece, and if you look at the two names out there, or four names, Zeus and Blue Ground, these are both operators that have raised over $20 million, gone out in the market, in different markets across the country, rented unfurnished homes for a 1 to 2 year period, furnished them, sent a quality inspector, and in some cases an interior designer to establish that quality standard. And we've been able to convince them of our value proposition and us being the distribution channel for them, apart from them having their own websites. So what you're saying is already happening, which is why the demand side of the equation is all excited about on the B2B side. And you can actually verify that on house day. When you go on house day, you click on any listing, you'll see the quality. Apart from that, we have an approval process in place. So we also allow individual landlords to create their own listings, but we never approve those listings if those listings don't meet our quality standards. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thanks.
Cool. Guys, thank you so much. Truly appreciate it. Just about out of time for you. So thank you again for presenting. Look forward to hearing more going forward. The next one, ECFX. Dan, are you around? I see Dan.
I'm unmuted. I was trying to start the video. I'm doing this now. There you go.
Awesome. I will leave it to you, Dan.
All right. Do you see the slide?
I do see the slide.
All right. Well, thank you very much. So I'm here to talk about ECFX. My name is Dan O'Day. I'm the CEO and co-founder of this company. We solve the problem of electronic court filing. And being a lawyer, I'm probably the only one here who's going to mention that this is we're under Reg D here under the SEC, so we're only looking for accredited investors. All right. So what's the problem? Well, there are thousands of courts in the US, and they now require law firms to file electronically. And that process varies from court to court. Many courts have built their own unique interfaces, so there's no consistency. So LA is different than Chicago, is different than New York. So what does this mean? Well, it means that when they have a receipt that's an incoming filing, so someone's filing a motion or a complaint, staff inside the firm are saving data manually. They are literally going, clicking on the documents, downloading them, and profiling them into the document management system. And then on the filing side, when they go to file paperwork, they have to convert it to the right PDF format. They have to check the pagination. They have to make sure everything is correct before they file it. And it's very time consuming. This is non-billable staff, so they're losing thousands of hours in staff time each and every day. On top of all that, there's no centralized platform that shows them where everything is. They can't go and say, how much do I have in Chicago this week versus New York? It's very difficult, takes weeks or months to pull that information together. So the solution, fairly straightforward. Create a consistent user experience, deal with the receipts automatically, don't have anyone touch them, create a single, easy to use filing interface. And what we're going to do, of course, is just save these law firms a lot of time and labor. On top of all that, what they're really excited about is this firm-wide dashboard that allows them to see where the work is, whether volume is increasing or decreasing, look at trend lines. and consider their staffing needs. So what does it mean for a law firm? Well, here are some examples. We're looking at the current state, and the average, national average for both paralegals and legal assistants is actually fairly close. They both make a similar amount of money, around $62K annually. And we're taking what is 20 minutes to an hour on the receipt side and turning it into a process that's less than a minute. We're taking something that's half an hour to an hour and a half on the filing side. We're doing that in a few minutes. We are charging $2 for the receipts, $10 for the filings. This is huge savings in a neighborhood of $48 to $65 per transaction. So why do we think we can actually do this? Well, first of all, I have built 5 legal technology products from the ground up. I am both a lawyer and a programmer. I had a small exit in a previous life, and I was in charge of product management over at Thomson Reuters and ran over $100 million portfolio. One of my co-founders, Nelson, is a patent attorney, has issued over 1,500 patents, and has built an in-house IP solution. And then we also have Bill Birch, who is our third co-founder, and he was responsible just last year in over $200 million of annual sales for Thomson Reuters. And he has left Thomson Reuters to join our organization because he sees this as a hugely lucrative opportunity. We have Charlie Wolf, who's our chief software architect, who was the 4th hire at Coinbase for security, and he is a very smart guy, and he's a genius, and is helping us build out the development team and the product. What's the market here? Well, it turns out that more and more courts require mandatory electronic court filing, so you can't go down to the courthouse with paper anymore. LA just went that way in December. And so firms are cobbling together 20 or 30 vendors to help them with this problem. And they're saying, Dan, this is a nightmare for me. It's a huge market. We've sized it at about $1.6 billion US and international. And it's a very addressable market for us in terms of large law firms, insurance companies, and large companies. So we are really targeting the largest players in the market. And the interesting thing about legal is it's actually very possible to get 70% market share. I had a couple of products that achieved this market share in prior lives. And you'll see that there's a lot of companies like iManage and Interaction that have this type of market share in large law. There is competition. There's a bunch of small players. They are mom and pop shops, most of them, lifestyle companies. And we're the only provider who's coming in and saying, look, we will replace all of your vendors, the ones that you have in LA, the ones you have in San Francisco, with a single vendor across the country, no matter where you are. And we'll handle both the receipt side and the filing side. And this is revolutionary. I mentioned this before. We charge $2 per receipt and we charge $10 per filing. The nice thing is we give them a cost load file, and that goes right into the time and billing system, and it allows them to get the costs right back from their clients. On top of that, if they win in litigation, they get these costs back as part of their litigation costs. So this is very attractive to the firms. In fact, I have one firm who I'm speaking to tomorrow who just wants us to solve this cost load problem for them. We have traction. So the world's largest law firm with over 10,000 lawyers has signed on as our second Lighthouse account. Our first Lighthouse account is Schiff Harding out of Chicago, and they have over 300 lawyers, and we have about half a dozen very large firms that have a strong interest. I originally built the prototype myself, but now that Charlie's on board, we've updated our technology stack. We're deploying with all the latest technology, including Kubernetes and infrastructure as a service. We have our data loads working. We have secure access to the site, and our email intake process is complete. So we are raising $1 million, of which we've raised $405K so far today. $250K came in from us, the co-founders. Currently, the instrument is a convertible note that will convert at $1 million, which we expect to raise in the next 12 to 18 months after this one closes. There are a lot of exit opportunities here. Chrome River, one of my great advisors and mentors, got a $520 million exit on $50 million in revenue. I purchased a company at Thomson Reuters that had only $8 million in revenue for $45 million. So I was on the other side of the table, and I'm very familiar with this business, and have purchased 5 companies in my prior life there. Here's our contact details, and I'd be happy to take any questions. Thank you very much.
Hey, Dan, this is Drew from Hawke Ventures. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Question for you. Is there a reason why you couldn't get some of your customers to prepay for this and almost fund yourself through customer development? It seems like based on the product that you have and the updates that you've made, I feel like you're really close to being able to just charge for it, or at least charge for it in advance at like a reduced rate. I'm just listening to your deck and your background, and I'm like, I just feel like your customers could fund this.
Well, Drew, we actually are talking to a couple of them about that, and Bill Birch is going to be looking for a couple of them to prepay us, 100 or 50 grand or whatever is reasonable. The issue you face there is you got to catch them in their cycles, so we can get that money, but it won't be until January, right? So the way in which they do budgeting is in usually November, October. Some of the larger firms, that's not a lot of money. They can probably pull it out of cycle, but most of them want to do this stuff in their budget cycle.
Yeah, it just seems, it seems expensive for you to raise capital if you could get a decent amount of customers to prepay, if that makes sense.
It does, Drew.
That's just like listening to your presentation. That's immediately where my mind was going.
Hey, Dan, can you speak to the scalability issue? You're talking about all the lawyers within these law firms and all that. How are you going to actually be able to scale it with regard to sort of software training and all of that stuff in terms of, like how all of this works?
Right. So the nice thing about this is it requires nothing on the part of the attorneys. Basically, we're replacing a function that their staff do and automating it. So as far as they're concerned, the email could have just come from their staff. The way in which we're doing that is we are having it send the emails to an account that we create, and then we're processing it on the back end. So we don't change any behavior. Changing attorney behavior is a difficult business, and that's not the business we're in.
Got it. Good. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Dan, can you talk a little bit about how you acquire customers? You mentioned that you have two bigger law firms, but do you plan to target enterprise accounts, or do you go after the SMBs and mom and pop law firms as well?
Yeah, currently we're targeting what's called the NLJ 500, which are the 500 largest firms in the U.S. by number of lawyers. That's a pretty lucrative market. That market size that I gave you is based on dominance of that market. There are roughly about 2,000 law firms in the U.S. that operate in multiple jurisdictions, so ultimately that's our target market. And we're going there through trade shows and direct sales.
Hey, Dan, can you just talk about the pitch to the law firm and just explain to me, because you're a lawyer and I'm not. Most of this costs are passed through the client and billed to the client. What's the incentive for them really to save versus they're really incentive to just have it done right and they're adding a risk factor?
So it turns out that actually most of these costs are not at large firms. And this may surprise some of you who've retained large firms before. So it turns out that this is mostly non-billable staff work because clients who are sophisticated won't pay for it. For example, our first implementation at DENS is with the Mass Tort Group. All the mass tort work they do is on a fixed fee basis. So all of the cost is absorbed by the firm.
Cool. That answer your question, Brian?
Yep.
Awesome.
Thank you, Lucas.
Dan, thank you so much. Service Mob, you are up next. Marcel. Did I say that right? Are you around? I know I promoted you. Oh, attendee. There we go. Promote panelist. Cool, Marcel, can you hear? Marcel?
Yep. Hey there.
Awesome.
Hey,
Cool.
it's Marcel and Anuj here. We're just sharing one Zoom. So, hey there. Let me just get this up. Can you all see my screen, or?
Yep, I can see the share. Thank you.
All right. My name is Anuj Bala. I'm the founder and CEO of Service Mob. The big problem is contacting customer service sucks. So we've all been there. You know, this person probably represents you in the last day, week, month, or year, where you contact customer service, you dial the 1-800 number, and, you know, unfortunately, one of the big reasons it sucks is because you hit this guy, the IVR robot, as we call it. It's the phone tree. You know, to do this, press 1. To do that, press 2. Please listen carefully as we drive you insane. So this technology was built in 1971 for the rotary phone. You know, 48 years later, they're still difficult to navigate. Totally bad need of a digital disruption, but it actually ends up disengaging customers. So how many times have you tried to hit 000 or, you know, say agent to get around those specific systems? 13. This is the number of hours per year spent by the average person waiting on hold for the next available agent. You know, 13 hours. You can do a lot in 13 hours, but that's every, you know, man, woman, and child in the United States, according to Time magazine. What does that actually equate to? It's about 2.7 billion wasted hours collectively on hold, $41 billion of wasted productivity. And if that was an economy, it'd be the 89th largest economy in the world, between Panama and Turkmenistan. If you added that up in lifetimes, it would be 4,100 lifetimes. So if we are solving this problem, we do believe in some small way we are saving lives. So with that, you know, what our solution is trying to reimagine the IVR into a beautiful visual experience. Why are we listening to 9 options 5 levels deep when we can visually look at a screen on a device we all carry, digitally tap through the menus with ease, schedule a call in advance, never have to, you know, be tethered to your phone listening to terrible wait music, rate your experience like you rate your Uber driver. And a lot of call centers, you know, why do they have people who aren't good? Because their survey rates are so low. They never get feedback to say who the great agents are and who the terrible ones are because people don't fill out surveys. So we've designed a platform approach that allows to solve each of these pain points and do this in a very efficient visual experience. We have the ability to integrate to the modern, you know, omni-channel, omnivalent world. So social media channels, integrated chat, voice-assisted callbacks. We're doing, you know, a lot more with some of our clients with Alexa and Google Home. Biometric authentication, same way you get into your, you know, iPhone X with a face scan. Why can't we do that live on the call to, you know, send your 16-digit account number? Why can't we do that to, you know, digitally transmit all your account information and verify who you are so that I don't have to ask you what's the last 4 of your social or who your best friend is in 3rd grade. All those questions are there to verify that you are you. But if we have the mechanism to do that digitally, not like we do today, we've enabled that, you know, to really go directly into the contact center. One of the big value propositions that we have, you know, call centers love us because what we're doing is in the background, we're actually, you know, through a visual platform, enabling the ability to move, you know, calls and call demand to times of day that aren't as busy. So we have a recommendation engine using AI and advanced analytics where we're able to, you know, match labor supply versus call demand, and we're able to move and shift those calls to different times of day that are, you know, less busy. So instead of having 50 people, you know, really busy at lunch and then, you know, 30 minutes later sitting around doing nothing, if we can load balance those contact centers in the right way, that's huge savings in labor for contact centers. And customers love it because it's a seamless experience. You know, one tap, just like you know, would request an Uber, you can request service, you can schedule, you know, calls in advance against a company's, you know, open schedule. And by doing that, you never really have to wait in line. So it's a really win-win proposition across the board. Our traction has been awesome. You know, we are working with some of the best companies on the planet right now, the companies that are growing up that hockey stick curve. So Clover Health, Hello Tech, Service Titan, Sonder, Masterclass, Cornerstone On Demand. And we've seen the, you know, over 30% improvement in Net Promoter Score. And then overall, we've seen a cost to serve reduce over 15%. We've seen 3x year-over-year sales growth, and we have a massive qualified pipeline, with great companies like Kohl's, Jewel, More Pacific, Falabella, Reed Group, Tubi, UBS Capital, and Cisco. So there's a ton of opportunity as we are really a horizontal SaaS, and customer service does apply across industry. So huge TAM, call centers are everywhere. They're cross industry, like I mentioned, but, over a $1.1 billion market. Everyone from my dentist to AT&T Wireless has one of these things, and everyone hates it. So that's a huge opportunity to change something meaningful in everyone's lives. We have a great team. Marcel here, ex-Deloitte, understands contact centers, grew up in that world. John, who leads our technology, built freecreditreport.com, which is owned by Experian now. So, he leads our product. And, Nick also works under Sean, but, former CTO of many venture-backed startups. We don't have a specific ask, but we are looking for strategic partnerships because we are not raising at this time, but we are interested in strategic investments at this time until our next raise. So thank you, and happy to take any questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It's always nice to say donate money. It gets people excited. What questions does everyone have?
Well, as an investor, I am curious when you will be raising, and what benchmarks you have to get to be there.
Well, just for history, we raised about 1.5 total last year. So in 2018, right now we're finding great traction with customers. We'll probably be looking later this year, to potentially raise. We are part of StartX, Stanford's StartX network. And also, soon to be an announcement we'll be making with MIT as well. But yes, we'll probably be looking, later this year, maybe toward the end of summer or early fall.
Question for you. How long is that sales cycle for customers like that?
For bigger customers, it's longer, as you'd expect. But the sales cycle is generally, I'd say, 3 to 5 months. For companies, we're working with where our sweet spot is, to be honest with you, is with unicorns, to be honest. So companies that have raised, let's say at least $100 to $150 million total. And they're big enough to have a sizable customer service arm, yet small enough so that they make decisions quickly. Some of the bigger customers we've been working with, the sales cycle is much, much longer. And frankly, we found it more lucrative to work with, growth stage companies that are moving up that hockey stick curve really quickly. While that revenue curve is growing up fast, what they're looking for and why they're interested in us typically is because they don't want that cost curve to grow nearly as fast as the revenue curve, right? So they're starting to think about cost more and more, not just top line. And with that, we offer a very attractive value proposition to both differentiate, improve net promoter score, which is just a hyper focus of many growing companies, for obvious reasons. And then, also offer a very strong cost control measure.
Great, thanks for that.
Awesome. Guys, thank you so much for participating. Thank you again for pitching. Look forward to hearing more shortly. Next one up is V1. Jeremy. I see you. You're in. Perfect. Jeremy, don't forget to unmute yourself.
I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yep, perfect.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Perfect. Yep, take it away.
Awesome. So Judy has an app idea, or she had an app idea, and she went and spent $14,000 on a clickable prototype. This prototype does not transfer data in any way and really doesn't even test the market. Now, because she didn't have that much money, she gave up. Malik spent a little more on an app that did transfer data, and he spent $55,000 on what he called a revolutionary storage unit app. About 14 months later, he had a whopping 45 users. Now, someone like me is going to look at that and go, okay, that's probably not worth it, right? He ended up giving up. Jeremy spent $65,000 on what started as a mobile business card app. Through that and through all the process, he pivoted about 14 times, monetizing at each stage along the way to stay in business. This Jeremy is me, Jeremy, and I have not yet given up. My bet and my thesis with this company is if you don't have a story similar to this, you know someone who does. That's where V1 comes in, because we help non-technical entrepreneurs take their idea from their head and into the app stores. We save them months of time. We save them tens of thousands of dollars, and it's all conveniently because it's not DIY. All they do is select one of our pre-built themes or upload their own designs, answer a set of questions, and then take delivery sometimes within 24 hours. We throw their app up in the cloud, host it for them, and the way our business model works is if they upload their designs from any vector file or any sketch file or any PSD file, we can, within 1 to 2 business days, take that and turn it into a web app, a clickable web app. We charge them $49 a month, and that includes hosting. We then upsell them, if they would like, to turn that HTML app into a launchable app into the app stores. And they can cancel whenever they want, so there's no real commitment on their part. Saving time and money for them and allowing them to test the market without overspending. So our pre-seed traction is we've had a bunch of partnerships now going on, half a dozen, with a couple universities and a couple startup events like Startup Coil and NextGen. To this month, we will have about 13K in MRR. That's growing at about 200% per month because we just launched this in February. I know that's going to go down, obviously, but our customer acquisition cost is nothing. So most of it has been, all of it has been word of mouth. We just got into the Expert Dojo Accelerator and got our first 50K check. So that's kind of exciting. And how this all spawned is we released a early version of a DIY builder late in 2018. And what we learned was that people are kind of tired of DIY and they'd rather pay a premium to have us do it. Dev shops charge way too much, way too early, to where a lot of them don't even see any necessity in servicing people under 10K. Everyone kind of has an app idea, right? Like that's the whole adage that in our sector. And another thing we've learned while getting a couple industries and jumping on the phone with people have been people are sick of cookie cutter. So yeah, there's things like Chow Now that make apps for restaurants and food trucks, but we've hit a little niche with food trucks because they're not serviced as much and it doesn't have this one thing. We have almost perfected doing that one thing in a killer amount of time. The size is currently about $12 billion in the app development market. But by 2030, this is how we prospected out, 50% of just the United States will be working for themselves in one way or another. So we'd like to call it the V1 era, where everyone needs their own mobile app to stay relevant, similar to how 10 years ago, everyone needs their own website. So just ask Squarespace and Wix how their growth was. Our competition, there's a lot of cookie cutter app builders and a lot of other solutions that might get someone to a certain place, but we've found success in our niche with the customization engine that we have built in the background. But yeah, a lot of the competitors out right now are very, very templated and not as convenient as just uploading your designs and spitting it out. The doers, the team here, I am the single founder, but because our margins are pretty great, I've been able to hire a great team that hail from Berkeley, Dropbox, The Real, starting their own agencies, a very entrepreneurial driven team. And I'm asking for 300K as soon as possible. I've got that a quarter subscribed already. And I'm also looking for strategics to get advice as well.
Awesome. Jeremy, thank you so much for the presentation. Definitely appreciate it. What questions do we have?
Hey, Jeremy, Drew here from Hawke Ventures. We're investors in TapCart, and I was the head of marketing for Mobile Roadie for many years. And so one question I had for you is, like, we see apps kind of on a negative decline. Like, we see more apps being uninstalled than we see on being installed. And one of the things that happened was people just are tired of apps unless they have a really, really solid killer feature that really painful, like executes its pain point super well. So one of the things that I'm kind of worried about is that you're kind of end up being in the middle of the market as opposed to being on the very bottom or the very top. Too expensive for McDonald's, not expensive, or I'm sorry, too expensive for a restaurant or someone smaller, but maybe not expensive enough for McDonald's. I'm just using that as an example. How do you create that one killer feature that gets people to pay the amount of money that they really want, because they really want to attack that one thing that their customers or their idea can facilitate? Can you just talk me through that?
Yeah. So that's an awesome question, because part of our platform is a learning platform, or an entrepreneurial, an accelerator, incubator almost. So we force them to focus on core functions with mitigating their risk. So yes, I guess you could say like the $200 a month or $50 a month, which is not that expensive. So like, if you take that and you actually focus on one core feature, and then you test the market with it for a couple months, you learn then and you grow based on that, you will get to a better, more ideal solution for a fraction of the cost, instead of, because you always have that in the back of your mind, right? You always have in the back of your mind, apps cost $20,000. Apps cost $10,000. Is this worth the risk? From our customer base right now, it is worth the risk to get your idea out in the market and test it. And I think we have zero churn. So like for now, and yes, it's only been 4 months, but everyone, I think it kind of gets fractured to a specific app for a specific niche. So the thesis around everyone needs their own app, which is something we're proving out, that data on Facebook and Instagram and the current social channels, they're not seeing the engagement that they used to. And that's clear. But if you have your audience, I beg to differ that 200 people engaged on your app, right? Because I like your classes that you do. So building my community-based app with my core function and having 200 people fully engaged, clicking on their push notifications, going through their app, getting updates, et cetera, is better than having 20, 30, 40, 50,000 likes on a Facebook page and then working toward that. So I think that's my process anyway. That's my mindset. And again, we're between the pre-seed seed, and we're still trying to figure that out. But right now we've got some runway that we can.
Awesome. Any other questions?
One question. All right. I'm wondering, is there a lot of back and forth with clients when they don't use your themes, when they do the upload their own interfaces?
That's a great question. So early on, yes, there was, but we've streamlined the communication and the automatic updates. And we're in beta testing with our smart assistant on their dashboard. So they can essentially go through their dashboard, upload the change, and we reflect that change in the app for them. So it reduces our communication by 80%. And that's just something, again, that we're building, learning, and kind of measuring as we go, that we can hopefully get that down to 0.
Awesome.
Thanks. I mean, that is a great question. Absolutely. That's just a challenge we had months ago, and we've been working to fix it.
Can you tell I'm a designer?
Yeah, right? Yeah. It's that go back and forth, man. Constant. Like it's never over. So like that's also an opportunity to upsell as they come onto our platform.
Excellent. Thanks.
Cool. Awesome. Jeremy, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Raghu, I think you are up next with Net Objects. I promoted you to a panelist. There should be in here.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen.
Perfect.
Let me know when you can see it.
I can see it.
Let me get into. Okay, I believe I'm ready.
Go for it.
Okay, so my name is Raghu Bala. I'm the CEO of Net Objects. We are an intelligent automation platform company out of Irvine, California. So the space that we play in is actually in the automation space. So remote robotic process automation is a big kind of buzzword currently, with several companies chasing that space. But we are the successor to that technology, where we combine people, process, and AI. The problem that we try to solve using our technology is for tracking, tracing, and monitoring of digital and physical assets. And this is used by smart cities and connected enterprises. Some examples include banks, insurance companies. In the logistics, transportation area, we deal with some cities. I'll show you some examples, as well as supply chain and so on. So currently, we have a number of customers, 14 licensees of our platform in 4 continents, touching about 20 million end users. We also have some larger partners like Schneider Electric in France, Tech Mahindra in India. We've got some big players like Volkswagen, Panasonic, Hitachi, and so on, doing POCs about to kick off. Vodafone mentioned us as a top 100 5G launch partner last month, and a few others as well in the pipeline. Now, just quickly, I'm not going to go into detail, but quickly how the platform works is normally customers wanting to instrument an ecosystem, let's say it's a hospital chain or something, they would collect data from sensors. These sensors will be placed in different types of equipment, and that will come in through a gateway. There are third-party gateways, but we also have our own. It pushes it to our platform, and there multiple things happen. One is we do AI and machine learning and analytics. Second, we talk to enterprise systems. Third, we talk to any humans in the process using SMS, mobile push, email, and so on. We do remote actuation of devices. That is, the communication to the edge is bidirectional. And the last one is kind of interesting, where we have a link into a blockchain, and we have something called DQL, just like SQL. It talks to different types of ledgers, and also we can codify contracts and so on in the form of smart contracts. And then just it's a SaaS platform, point and click, and very easy to use, quick onboarding for customers. Now, 3 customer journeys are really fast. Tag Auto is a customer in the US, where we're tracking vehicles at car dealerships so that banks can keep an eye on the collateral. Bonafide is a crypto tag company for anti-counterfeiting of high-value items like handbags. SenseFix is one of our licensees in Germany, who's monitoring street lights in Netherlands. What we sell is just like a cell phone company sells minutes, we sell events. These events are sold in buckets of events from 100K buckets onwards. And the events are consumed by database events, blockchain events, messaging events, and so on. And we have no month-to-month rollover and annual contracts that gives us our recurring revenue. Now, the team itself, I'm a former Yahoo, InfoSpace, Pricewaterhouse exec. I've been through 3 startups as a founder, co-founder, and done exits. On my team is also some folks who I've worked with for 8 to 10 years, like Harish and Tang. And then we did an acquisition of a company in India last year for 10% cash and 90% stock. We brought in some talent to beef up the ranks. On our board is the ex-CTO of Broadcom, ex-CIO of Tesla. We have a current Apple product manager as well as one McKinsey and ex-IBM executives on our advisory board who give us a lot of good insights. We did about 800K in revenues last year, about 2.5 times growth over the previous year. And we raised about 600K in seed funding. And currently we're trying to raise a Series A of 5 million. I think that we've got 4 soft commits from different VCs, both in the US, in the Bay Area, as well as outside the US. And in between, if that takes a little bit long, we want to do a bridge round of about 500K. We've got some competitors in the market, both in the robotic process automation as well as IoT space. We do stand, strong against them because we have some technology that is, clear differentiator. Exit-wise, many of our competitors have been taken over by public companies, and one is on its way to an IPO, I believe, at some point. We have been recognized in various events worldwide, from Singapore to Holland to Switzerland. This year, we are Telecom Council's top 15 companies, most innovative companies, and so on. Yesterday, your name was top 100 most fundable companies by Pepperdine. So I will answer your questions at this point. Thank you.
Awesome. Do we have any questions?
I'll ask one. How interested are your customers with the smart contracts part of things, and maybe just blockchain in general? Have they been requesting that? Is that something you've been selling to them? Give us a little bit of a reading on that.
I would say about 60% of our revenues right now are blockchain related. 40% are more IoT related, and some are both IoT and blockchain related, because the types of assets that we manage are both digital and physical assets. So in some cases, when you talk about digital asset, it could be music, could be movies, could be soft assets, and then sometimes physical assets. Like this morning, we had a call with the airport of Dubai, where we are in the running to do predictive maintenance on their X-ray machines that scan bags and things like that. So that will be an example of physical asset. But blockchain, I would say, in general, about 60% of our business is blockchain related.
Got it. That's great.
Yeah. And also, I would like to point out it's industrial use of blockchain, not crypto as much. So.
Got it.
Awesome. Thank you so much again for presenting. Truly appreciate it. Yeah, thanks again for joining.
Thank you.
Up next, and definitely not the least, but definitely the last, Swapsy. Swapsy, if you are in attendees, raise your hand.
You're going to have to pitch them, Lucas.
Jimmy, where are you?
I happen to be in the same building as him, so I'll tell him right now. Hold on.
What? Oh, appreciate it, Keon. Got a couple minutes. Anyone have any additional questions? Ah, wait, no, that's Jeremy. Oh, we'll play some music.
He's signing on right now.
Keon, you find him?
Yeah, he's signing on right now.
I should have made scoring tardiness one of the characteristics.
That's showbiz.
Jimmy, I see you. All right. Okay, Jimmy, you have been added. Hey, you ready with the deck and everything else? Yeah, you are muted. I'll unmute you.
I need to share my screen, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, can you see my deck?
Yes, I can. Perfect.
Okay, great. Sorry. So shall I start?
Yep, go for it.
Great. Hello, everyone. I'm Jimmy, the founder and CEO of Swapsy. 4 years ago, I came to US to attend the MBA program at UCSD. As an international student, I suffer a lot from currency exchange. And same feelings applies to most of my international cohorts. Why? Most of us still rely on banks to do the international transfers, which is both costly and time consuming. And also for groups like overseas Chinese, it's an even bigger pain because China government sets strict control over foreign exchange. And there is an annual transfer limit of $50,000 for each of us, which is far below our real exchange demand. But you know, people are smart. They start exchanging privately in some social media group to avoid the cost, time, and the regulation. But it's not secure. There are many cases people are scammed and lost their money. So that's when I had an idea to build this online marketplace, which does the matchmaking between verified users to swap currencies. By utilizing the popular e-wallets, our solution is very cost-effective, fast, and much more secure compared to private exchange. Let me give you 2 use cases. The guy with glasses, Jason, is a Chinese student in the US. He needs $1,000 to pay his rent this month. Another guy, Mike, is an American small business. He will visit China next month. He needs some Chinese yuan to purchase a sample from a manufacturer in Shenzhen. In the past, they will both go to banks and be ripped off by them. But now they have Swapsy. Although they don't know each other, Swapsy can match them together in our platform and exchange the e-wallet information between them. Then Jason just needs to send the Chinese yuan to Mike's or directly to the manufacturer's Alipay account. And Mike send the US dollars to Jason via PayPal. Both of them get the target currency they want, but there is no money cross the border. By the end of 2018, we upgraded our transaction system because the users, they need to follow our transaction rules. The most important features of this new system is that every user needs to send money first before receiving money, which minimizes the default risk. We have filed a utility patent for this new system. Currently, last month, we have over 7,000 transactions and the total transaction volume is over $4 million. With those transactions, we generate around 28K revenue last month. And currently, we have over 20K users with over 3,000 new registered users last month. The market, we start by serving exchange between China and other countries. There are over 50 million overseas Chinese. And in 2016, this group remit around $61 billion back to China, which is huge. But in the long term, we will not focus only on Chinese. We have just launched GBP and Canadian dollars. And also, we have done research about India, Mexican, and Southeast Asian markets. They are all very big potential market for us. So the total addressable market from the World Bank's data is that it's an over $40 million market but actually this is only about the official international transfer channels. There is no data about private exchange, gray or even illegal channels, but you know it's also huge. We have rich user acquisition channels. We are doing both online and offline marketing campaigns. Because of the peer-to-peer feature, we can operate at a much lower cost compared to the traditional channels. For competitors like TransferWise, we also have our big advantage. For their model, they cannot serve the China market. And also for small amount exchange, we are more friendly with the lower fee rates. We use swap credits to collect the service fees from our users, which both save hassles of our users of paying for every swap. And also for Swapsy, we can lock in the revenue. As you can see in this roadmap, we actually, just this week, we launched our big amount services because we got a partner with the cryptocurrency business. And also we are also negotiating with some small banks to open a money service business accounts. So you may see our revenue boom in the next few months because of this big amount service. I've built a passionate team and also very experienced investor and advisors bring a lot of value to us. So currently we are raising 500K convertible note rounds with a runway of between 10 to 12 months. Our goal is to reach 100K volume, 100K users and around 30 million volume. So this is Swapsy. We make overseas life a bit easier. Thank you.
Awesome, Jimmy. Thank you so much for jumping in. Brian, looks like you and Herschel both have questions.
Yeah, Jimmy, are you setting the crossing price, or are you allowing the market participants to set that, and it kind of floats between, supply demand?
So Swapsy, we use the real-time mid-market rates, which you can easily get from Google, because we do not hold users' money, so we cannot take the spread from the exchange rate difference. So that's why we just give the best rate to our users, and we just collect service fees from our users. Does that answer your question?
Yep.
Thank you.
Hi, Jimmy. Are there any KYC AML issues? Could you go into the legality of this? Feels like there's a huge channel for any kind of negative actors on this platform. Could you go into that aspect of it?
Sorry, it seems I lost the signal. Hello.
Oh, I was just asking about KYC issues. Do you have any of those? And legally, is there any kind of mechanism to stop bad actors from money laundering and things of that sort?
Sure, because I worked in a Chinese bank for over 3 years before I came to US. So I pay big attention to the regulation, especially in the US. In the US, of course, KYC and anti-money laundering is almost the everything for fintech company. So as you may notice, every user in our platform, they need to be verified before they can use our service. We use a professional ID service provider to verify those IDs, and this service provider, they have anti-money laundering watch list, which means if there is some some money laundering red alarm, they will let us know, and so we will not let this user pass the verification. And also currently because we are negotiating with some banks, so the banks of course they require us to have our own BSA and anti-money laundering policies. So we already drafted our policy, and the bank's compliance department are reviewing our policy at this moment. And also we have registered on FinCEN as a money service business. So we will report suspicious activity on our platforms on a regular basis. And actually compliance, I think it's a checklist. For a fintech startup, we cannot do everything perfect because we don't have enough resources at this moment. But as we scale up, when we have more and more resources, we will check more items on this list.